how many downloads of Jim and Bill It's Another Day podcast?
Today, the podcast show has fetched 400 million downloads since its start, and an average of 350,000 downloads per episode, about 3.9 million downloads per week.
Well, hello there. It's another day. I'm Jim Harrington.
And I'm Bill Knight. And before we sit there and get PO'd together here, let's talk about Right Side Coffee, because you're gonna need a whole bag of it.
Yeah.
To swallow everything that has happened in the past 24, 48 hours.
Well, isn't that the truth? Right Side Coffee available at rightsideshop.com. Rightsideshop.com. It's our storefront. It's medium blend roast. It's delicious. They also have a medium decaf roast if you can't have the caffeine, and you got to try it. It's something which we started a couple of months ago, and we're hoping that you and your friends will make it part of your life, because it's a delicious coffee. Rightsideshop.com is the place to find it, and it's Jim and Bill's Right Side Coffee. And of course, we're the only people who have Juan Jose and the Border Crossers sing the jingle. Guys?
Wake up on the right side with Right Side Coffee.
Marvelous. All right. Rightsideshop.com, the place to get it. Jim and Bill's Right Side Coffee. Bill, you and I were talking about the possibility of a terrorist attack in New York on New Year's Eve, and I was watching, and thank God, nothing happened in New York, but we weren't wrong about a terrorist attack. We just got the wrong city, Bill.
Well, I don't know that we got the wrong city. New York is still on the map, and they did last night have an attack at a nightclub in Queens where 11 people were
I
injured.
guess what I was thinking was I was thinking about the actual
full-blown
celebration, the New Year's Eve celebration. I heard about if you don't know, if you are somebody still kind of recovering from your holiday weekend, they had another shooting in Queens last night in a nightclub, and I guess 11 people were shot. I don't know whether there have been any fatalities, but this is getting kind of crazy, folks. In case you didn't know, that there was rioting by migrants in Berlin. They used fireworks to attack police officers, and there was one death. That was in Berlin, in Germany. And in Las Vegas, there was a Cybertruck, which is made by Tesla, that was driven up to the front of Trump Hotel, rather, and the person inside detonated the truck. It was filled with fireworks and explosives and IEDs. Go ahead, Bill.
Yeah, well, no, there's a lot to go on there, but let's do a connection right now, because, well, that could just be a separate incident. Okay. Well, Shamsud Din Jabbar, the guy that carried out his task in New Orleans with intent. No, and they go, well, he was he was in the Army and all that, and where he was stationed, Well, it just so happens that the guy that did the Elon Musk truck, that he rented from, I guess, the same app.
Yeah.
And had the whatever it was to explode the truck in the ballet area or whatever. Turns out to be an ex-Green Beret, and is still in the whatever, he's in some kind of special, intelligent thing there that he does. But he was deployed to the same base as this guy. They are connected, and that base now connects. And I would sit there and go, you know what? Was this a training ground for covert, overthrow the government operations?
Well, I do think there should be more investigating into, the whole situation, in that. I don't know what fort it was, by the way. Do they say what fort they were trained in? They say they mention the fact that they trained in a fort, but I can't find the actual fort that they trained in.
I could make a call and find out, because I know somebody that might know.
Yeah. Well, I think that we have got so much that we've got to learn. They had a press conference yesterday And it was a bunch. I mean, more. First of all, when you have a press conference that's as important as this press conference was yesterday, you don't have 50 people walk into the room and have 2 cents to add to it. It isn't a personal appearance. You're not there to show off the fact that you care. You know? I mean, it should have been informational. You should have had key people at that podium, and that should have been it. They had the mayor, the superintendent of police. They had a whole litany of people who were walking up to the microphone and saying basically the same thing.
Yeah. So why? What was the purpose of it?
They had John Kennedy, the senator from Louisiana. He was good. He was actually
Right.
somebody who added something to the whole press conference. But it was and then they would say, they would get a question from the audience, and it was a good question, and they'd say, well, it's an ongoing investigation. It's too early. We can't really tell. You know, at one point Kennedy said, well, yeah, we have the information, but we can't tell you. You know, it's like, well, what are we here for? You know, well, I understand why they can't tell you. They don't want to tip their hat to the other side. But they could have told us in the press conference that there were 4 other people spotted on that street, on Bourbon Street, putting IEDs down. We had to learn that later on.
Yeah, there's a lot there. And Kennedy probably said one thing, I don't remember word for word, but basically he can't confirm or deny certain things. And I think it's deeper and darker than what we really are led to believe. Hell, in New Orleans, there was a lady that was for the police department spokesperson that didn't really, speak good English, saying, "Oh, it's not a terrorist attack." Well,
that was the special agent for the FBI down there. She came out initially, right off the bat. I mean, within an hour, and said it's not a terrorist attack. She had to walk that back later on.
But you know what? That says that the FBI they don't have a clue. Now, why go and make a statement like that if it's something that you want to keep under wraps, but you can't keep it under wraps? Don't go and bold-faced lie and then go, well, it was, because that makes you look stupid.
This is her after she walked it back yesterday.
We are working with our partners to investigate this as an act of terrorism. We're aggressively running down all of the leads to identify the possible subject's associates. We're working to ensure that there is no further threat. We do not believe that Jabbar was solely responsible. We are aggressively running down every lead, including those of his known associates. That's why we need the public's help. We are asking if anybody has any interactions with Samsud Dim Jabbar in the last 72 hours that you contact us. The FBI is asking the public's help. We're asking anyone who has information, video, or pictures to provide it to the FBI. We have set up a digital tip line as well as our 1-800 number, 1-800-CALL-FBI. Please provide us with any information that can assist us in this investigation.
They should have public information officers in the FBI, and it's their only job is to walk out in front of the media and to answer questions. And these people should be articulate. They should be somebody who exude confidence. This young lady, she's well-intentioned, but she, like Bill said, she came out, the very first thing she did is she jumped out and said it wasn't a terrorist attack. They didn't even know the first thing about this attack, and she was denying that it was a terror attack.
See, I think there's a problem with the FBI, the CIA, the government, the Democrats, and Republicans too. They don't understand the population. They don't understand the media and social media. They live by the old thing, hey, they'll believe what we tell them, deny until we decide to say otherwise.
You're right. Yep.
Well, friends in the media and friends in the CIA and the government and the FBI, whatnot, it don't work that way no more. Got it?
Yeah.
We probably know more than you are even leading on to or what before it ever gets out. So you know what? Just here's a clue. Now, this is just a an idea from me. It may not be worth anything. Tell the truth.
It's interesting. I got more facts from online sites yesterday. I got the information first online before they were reporting it on the cable news channels. You go to the cable news channels, think that they have the cameras, they're right there, they're going to get the information first. No, they didn't. They weren't first. It was online. You found out the name of the guy online first before they started talking about it, on television. Now, I don't know. I think that I think back to all of the major events like this over the past 6 or 8 months, and the attack on President Trump. We still don't know a damn thing about that. I mean, they just fed horse manure into the chipper there, man, and we got nothing. We just got fine manure. We never got any facts. We're still sitting out here, and we still don't know about the shooter. We still don't know about the bank accounts. We still don't know about whether he had any associates. We still don't know whether there was a second shooter. It's just faded away. Then the guy down in the bushes down in Florida. What do we know about that schmuck? Nothing. Why was he in Hawaii? And then why did he come back? And did he have any connections here on the East Coast? Was he alone, or was he backed up by somebody?
I tend to say there's a big coordinated effort that's going on, and they don't want us to know about it because
I agree.
But it's a game. It's a ball of confusion. That's what it is. A big, massive ball of confusion.
Yeah.
And I think it's coordinated confusion. They know what's going on. They know what's coming. Somebody does high up.
Yeah.
And there's somebody that wants this to happen. What the end game is?
So
I don't know.
We wonder. Yeah. Are they all connected? Is everything we're seeing here part of a plan? Was the attack in New Orleans planned? And was it connected to the explosion of the truck in Vegas?
So.
I mean, was it a coincidence that they happened within hours of each other?
Vegas and New Orleans are coordinated because the two guys are connected, and that means that these are a couple of ants that came from a big giant anthill.
Well, how about the shooting in Queens this morning?
Well, we don't know anything about it, but why did that happen? Or is that somebody just wanting fame and fortune by going in there? But I don't think so. I think that there are sleeper units out there. I wouldn't call them sleeper anymore. They're coming alive. There's a lot of heads to a lot of different snakes all around.
Bill, Sarah Adams is a former CIA analyst. She was somebody who was, her job was to figure out where the next attack was going to be and whether there were going to be more attacks and whether these were things that were coordinated or whether they were independent. She sat down with Sean Ryan. If you don't know who Sean Ryan is, former Navy SEAL and former CIA contractor. This guy, he knows a lot about this stuff. So he wouldn't have Sarah Adams in as a guest on his podcast if he didn't think this lady knew what she was talking about. He sat down with her over the weekend, I think yesterday actually. We have about 8 minutes of this, but it's worth listening to her. She, again, when you hear her talk, this young woman is not just somebody who is guessing. She has worked for the CIA to anticipate where these things are going to happen next. She's an analyst. She figures out who did them and where they're going to happen next. Listen to what she said.
I just want to clarify. You are 100% certain that there are 1,000 plus Al-Qaeda trained fighters within the United States borders?
Well, Al-Qaeda says they trained and deployed 1,000 for this attack. First off, I think there's more than 1,000 Al-Qaeda members in the United States. But for the Homeland attack, that number is based on what Al-Qaeda is saying, so they could exaggerate it. However, they did have about 1,400 in the Hamas attack, so the number is not off from what they did in the first round of attacks.
How old is this information?
I mean, it's ongoing. So the training's already done, right? So all the training info is now old because they trained all the homeland attackers, if that makes sense. So like next week, you're not going to get info of a homeland attacker probably at a terrorist camp because it's already done. So all this has been in the last year.
So it's been over a year. It's been a year.
Because this was a continuation, so they planned October 7th first, and then they rolled into planning this after.
Are we next, or is Europe next?
I think the embassy attacks are next, in my opinion.
What are they waiting for the embassies?
I don't think they're waiting. I think it took time to train them. They've now approved them, and they've now moved into the operational stage. So we first talked about what they call the invisible bomb. It was Al-Qaeda's in the Arab Peninsula, so their branch in Yemen, right? And they basically were showing off. It's really interesting. The video got taken down right away, and then I think most people in the U.S. didn't even see it. So, like, TSA completely ignored putting out the actual piece of the video that mattered. And so the big piece of the video was teaching terrorists how to make a bomb that goes through a magnetometer. So, you know, like most airports in the world, you don't have that weird hand scan thing. You just go through a random metal detector. So this bomb basically goes to the metal detector, okay? So they were showing it off then. Well, now Al-Qaeda's advanced, and it's in a suicide vest. But the interesting part is it doesn't just go supposedly through the metal detector. They made it with components dogs aren't trained on to sniff. So if you say, okay, well, we'll up our security and put more dogs, Al-Qaeda's saying, well, we've defeated that too. And this is the type of vest they plan to use potentially in their homeland attack that's coming up. So it's very concerning because we aren't prepared for that. I mean, most of the buildings you go into, even if they have some sort of thing, it already defeats that.
I don't think we're prepared for anything that's coming.
Right. We're not.
Do we have any preparations at all? I mean, from what I've seen, we have no preparations. We're going to get into more about the funding of Taliban. I mean, we're funding our own demise here. I mean, have you seen any positives? Is anybody doing anything?
No, and actually, Al-Qaeda makes a joke out of the fact that they move the money we give to the Taliban to the camps that train the homeland attackers, right? So it's almost like an insider joke, like, yes, we are forcing America to fund their own attacks. So that is the plan, too, that the money will go back to us and our government. And then that makes Americans also look at our government like it's an inside job. You knew it, right? And so Al-Qaeda is going to play that game, which is really interesting. Al-Qaeda found the Building 7 conspiracy stuff fascinating. And they have actually had discussions about how we could do ruses and bring in the Building 7 people to make them blame their government more. So they're actually even...
What about the U.S.?
So the U.S., from what we've seen, I told you about the camps, right? That there's the advanced urban warfare. So we think it's going to look like October 7th, but it's actually based on, and October 7th was probably also based on it. It's based on the Mumbai attacks that occurred 15 years ago.
What happened there before we dig into that?
Yeah, it was basically a terrorist group, Lashkar-e-Taiba. They did a number, it's called swarming attacks. They did a number of attacks in New Delhi, at a hotel, the Taj Mahal, I believe it was called, at like basically the train station, etc. The interesting thing about it, and this is why they're going to employ it now, is those terrorists were given kind of like latitude. One, they could change the location they were attacking, and they could change the modus operandi they were using. So, for example, when they went in the train station, it was supposed to be a bombing. When they got in there, they said, wow, we can kill more people just shooting them than putting the bomb together, and they shot them. Another thing that they did is in real time, information was being passed to them. So when they were in the Taj Mahal, they were being told what was on the press and what the police were doing, and they changed basically some of their movements in the hotel.
How many people, how many fighters do you think we can expect in each attack?
Well, the 1,000 is all of them. So we're calling it's an Al-Qaeda planned attack, but within those 1,000 terrorists, some of them are ISIS because they want ISIS to be blamed. I think the more of the fighter types are going to be ISIS, because then if they're caught, then they talk, I'm ISIS. I think more of the suicide bombers are going to be Al-Qaeda.
I think these attacks will happen simultaneously throughout the United States, or will they be one day here, next day here, another one over here next week.
So they want them coordinated. I don't know if coordinated means all at the same time, or if coordinated means we do it Monday, we do it Tuesday, we do it Wednesday, we do it Thursday, we do it Friday, we just do 5 straight days. So, but they want it coordinated.
What kind of places do you think they're going to target?
So this is what's complicated. So Al-Qaeda's preference, as you can imagine, is symbols of the U.S. or anything that causes economic damage, right? So capital is a great symbol. I feel like bridges or any kind of public transportation always matters because it puts costs against us and it causes fear. But here's where it gets complicated. So remember, the terrorists might have their goal is they're going to attack the metro in D.C., right? But remember, some of these terrorists are going to be ISIS. And remember, they can change location. So the ISIS guy might go down the metro and say, there's not many people down here. I'll kill 20, but there's a event going on. I'm going to go up there, right? And because ISIS is a little different. ISIS just wants mass casualty. In my opinion, terrorists in general just leaving Afghanistan, a lot of them are coming up through the Darien Gap to the border. And there was a big push, right? Get in the U.S. while you can. Now, not all those Al-Qaeda's attackers, right? But they came in with fake Afghan passports. They came in with fake Syrian passports, fake Turkish passports. Those are the kind of the 3 preferences because they're easiest to get. And then, if our Border Patrol agents, a lot of them haven't been overseas, right? If an Egyptian shows up at the border with a Syrian passport, is he going to know that person was Egyptian? I mean, his passport says Syrian, right? Yeah. So we have that problem. But then Al-Qaeda wants to embarrass us again, like they did with the 9/11 attackers, and they've trained clean terrorists, right, from like Saudi, Kuwait, Jordan, etc. And they want them to get legitimate visas, so we can't trust our system again. So we have both issues going on. A lot of these terrorists are coming up, right? And there still is the problem of lone wolves. There is the problem of we have terrorists in this country now where those members have never been in this country, right? We don't have any idea what their intent is. Islamic movement of Uzbekistan is a great example, right? They've sent terrorists from Afghanistan region here. Why, right? We have terrorists in this country that we don't even know their long-term plans against us because they're never really been a focus of ours, or we focused on them with this little piece where they did a few operations or training with Al-Qaeda, right? But we don't know the intent, and maybe they just are force multipliers for Al-Qaeda or the Islamic Army, but we lack the understanding.
Former CIA counterterrorism expert Sarah Adams talking about some scenarios with regard to attacks in the future. They're coordinated, and they're going to happen. She says about 1,000 Al-Qaeda are already here, and they've actually blended in with some ISIS. They've developed a vest, apparently, that evades metal detection, an explosive vest, a suicide vest. And she thinks this is just the beginning. She said, go ahead, Bill.
Well, I think so too. But, you got to wonder a couple of things. What is the end game for them? Because mass casualties, but is it going to escalate to a dirty nuke, a nuclear bomb? Or because, right now what they're doing is, they're scaring people, but they're, for lack of a better way to put it, they're pissing us off, and, at some point in time, we'll take our hits and licks, and then we're going to give it back to them. Now, the way that they're operating, it's hard to get them, hard to find them. And anything that we do to them is a code of honor to them. If they die in battle, it's an honor, and you almost have to sit there and say, you know what? When we punish you, we're going to make it a dishonor to you.
You just said punish, and I think what they're using against us is our system. There is no real punishment in this country. I mean, our harshest punishment right now for these terrorists is 3 hots and a cot in an air-conditioned cell somewhere for the rest of their life. That's the harshest. We don't have capital punishment per se anymore. I mean, we may have it on the books in certain places. The federal government may have it, but you don't see it happening. And I'm wondering to myself, do these people feel any fear towards us? I mean, do they think that there's going to be any consequences if they do stuff to us? Now, hypothetically, and I'll use it, if they did something like this during World War II in Berlin with that animal Hitler, right? Would they be let off? Absolutely not. And that's why there were less of these type of things, because he was ruthless. Stalin was ruthless. Over here, we have no consequence, nothing, zero. Am I right?
Yeah. Look, you look at World War II, and there are people that say, "Did we need to drop the bomb?" But we were angered. We were hit on a Sunday, taken off guard. Now there were signs that people in our government wanted it to happen. Maybe the war machine. I don't know. But either way, we were mad. We were furious. And even though we may have won that already, we had defeated their navy, Japan, we went ahead anyway and carried out our revenge. Now, whether you say that's good or not, the simple fact is we're a land of laws now, and, give me's and getaways. And look at what's going on with Biden pardoning all these guys that were on death row now in North Carolina. Sat there and said, "Oh yeah, there's 10 guys in death row. Let them go." And now they're sitting there going, "Well, it's inhumane to sit there and leave us in jail all this time. You just need to let us out."
Yeah.
No, we need to sit there and get back and get biblical. And I'm not trying to sit there and do a big religious statement here, but we are predominantly 83%. If that's a vote, that's damn well unanimous. We are a Judeo-Christian society and nation. So we need to kind of live up to...
Look at Europe right now. I was listening to a lady who lives in Norway. In Norway, she said, forget it. We're not the same country anymore. Our demographics are different. We've allowed so many illegals into our country that we are no longer historically Norwegian. They've ruined their own country. And now they're trying to think about ways of fixing it. Well, how do you fix it? I mean, look what's happening in Berlin right now. You have tens of thousands of illegals, for no good reason, by the way, rioting on the streets of Berlin, setting off rockets at police officers. And by the way, in Berlin, the liberal government, instead of coming out saying no, there will be no demonstrations in Berlin, especially by illegals or migrants, as they call them, right? They came out and they said there will be no 4th of July firework demonstrations in Berlin. They blamed the fireworks on the problem and not the people who were shooting them.
Right. You sit there and you go, well, what is the problem? The problem is it's not that the fact that this country has become a coat of many colors. It was intended to be that, a coat of many colors, but it was also intended that this coat had a purpose and a way that it was put together. So if you're part of that tapestry of that coat of one of the many colors, you were a piece that fits in. And, you
made one common coat out of multiple pieces of fabric.
There you go.
Yeah.
A coat of many colors.
Yeah.
Which has to go to a code of, being employed to it. But any piece of fabric can be a part of it. But it's just got to.
Bill, when you allow people who aren't documented, who we don't know who they are, to swarm into our country, and then when you accommodate them, meaning once they're here, you don't have to learn our language. You don't have to learn our customs.
That's a problem.
Yes. So what happens is they bring their failed third world culture into this country and expect us to accommodate them. I mean, look at how many things right now are in multiple languages. I think knowing a second language is great. I do too. I love French. I speak a little French. I love learning a second language. I think it's a gift to have a second language. But this country, the country we live in, the United States, is an English-speaking country. Universally. I heard Obama say about 5 years ago, well, you're going to have to learn how to speak Spanish. No. They're going to have to learn how to speak English.
Look, I'll give you a case in point. Back in '95 with the Rolling Stones tour, I was in Berlin. And with that, I was struggling, but, to speak German. But everywhere I went, I really tried my best. But they were courteous. And the ones that knew, sat there and said, no, we speak English here. And I said, great. But then they would help me with the German pronunciation. And then when I went somewhere that didn't speak any English, I still tried, but they worked with me because I was struggling to learn and try. Now, take that here in the United States. We are English, but there are people, there were a lot of Hispanic people that were in this country to begin with, all right, when you go down in the Southwest. But I was at a store the other day, and I'm in, up visiting in the Northeast. And I went in, and these ladies, they weren't really Hispanic. They were from somewhere in South America, and they were both working there. When we came up to the register, they spoke English, and that was great, And then they turned to each other and talked to each other while the transaction's going on. I'm sitting there thinking two things. You didn't pay attention to what you were ringing up or anything like that, or to the customer. And it's kind of an insult that they're sitting there, right there in front of me, almost like, excuse me, but hurry up. We'll ring this through. Now they go back and they do their foreign language. Like they're not doing
I
their
agree.
job.
I agree.
That was disrespectful to me and to the company that employed them to do something there.
Hey, I listened to some commercials on radio stations. They're in Spanish. I don't know what the hell they're saying. And these are over-the-air regular commercials. And I'm looking. That's wonderful. That's great. Except these are English-speaking radio stations. You would think that one of the prerequisites would be, well, look at we service an English-speaking audience, and that's what we're going to have on this station. But there are so many greedy guys in that business. They'll you can come on and use sign language on a radio station, and they'll air it. Think about that for a second, friends. No, it's amazing to see how we have become a nation of accommodation. We accommodate all these people who aren't supposed to be here. Bill, my question is this. How in the name of God are we going to fix this? How is Trump going to fix this?
Well, look, it didn't happen overnight. So it's kind of like losing weight, and I'm not picking on anybody that goes, I'm a little bit overweight. Let's face it. You're one of two things. You're underweight or you're overweight. Nobody's perfect in life. But let's say that you let something get out of what you think you need to be. And then you sit there and you go, it took you a while to get there. It's going to take you a while to get back. But what we have to do is get on the path to recovery. And that's the best thing that he can do, is put things in place. But the worst thing that's going to happen is that there is political gain to be made, and that's what it's all about, is power and gain.
So you were saying before the show started that you were wondering whether or not all of these violent attacks didn't have a political motivation behind them.
Yeah, true. I kind of wonder if there is a cause. Let's just sit there and let's say that there's somebody that's so rich and so powerful. Mm-hmm. And they want to control the population of the world. They want to control everyone because they think they're Dr. Evil or, whatever, that they sit there and there's a cast of characters that control money, power, and whatnot. What would you do to sit there and control all the people?
What would you not do? I think that there's a possibility that that's happening to us right now. We just don't know it.
Yeah. There's a coordinated effort to break us down and divide us and that's going on. And now they're sitting there, they're putting pressure on, to put a hurt on us. I mean, is something else going to happen? I think you heard the lady there just moments ago saying there's 1,000 cells, but you know what? With 1,000 cells, they're not out there, going solo. They've indoctrinated people. And we talked about the connection of the two guys. I was thinking back around 911, and then there was I think there was a guy on a plane that was an ex-military guy or a military guy, but he had sneakers that were considered, I guess he had explosives in it. As I recall, the story
was it the shoe bomber? The
shoe bomber.
Yeah, the guy in the airplane who they actually arrested. They got him.
Yeah,
he was going to detonate a bomb in his shoe. They, by the way, never really explained how that bomb was going to work, and they never really made a big thing out of it. He just sort of faded away. I think he's still in prison.
But wasn't he military?
I've forgotten, Bill. That may have been the case. They're very quick. Our media is very enthusiastically quick to say, oh, well, this guy was a former Green Beret, the guy who set off the car bomb in the Cybertruck in Las Vegas was a Green Beret. I don't even think he was former. I think he was still active in some way.
He still is. Yeah, he still is.
Okay, so he sets a bomb off, and the media just jumps all over it. See, he didn't come across the border. He was a Green Beret.
But if he went across the border to maybe an American-funded base, and it has but it has people in there with different intent. Let's face it, the military doesn't go after the smartest, brightest, level thinking citizen there is. They go after the guys that, when they go and recruit, okay, they might like college kids for military stuff, but they look for the guy. Yeah, I know you're a C&D student, but you know what? In the Army, you're going to be special because we're going to train you to be a man. And they can control them, mold them, manipulate them. But if you got the wrong guy controlling, molding, and manipulating, now you gotta.
Well, where we stand right. I thought it was interesting when they said Sarah Adams said that we send money to the Taliban, which we do, by the way. People don't know this, but we ran out of Afghanistan thanks to a lousy non-plan by Joe Biden and his administration. We left $80 billion worth of our finest equipment behind because, we didn't need it. What the heck? Give it to the Taliban. Let them have those top secret night vision goggles. That's okay. And, of course, they'll give them to the Russians and the Chinese. Not a problem. I mean, we'll just get some more. So he did that. But what people don't realize is right now we are still sending like $10 million payments back to the Taliban.
Why?
I don't know why. I do not know why. It would be like us sending Hitler some funding after we the war ended. I don't know. I do not have a good answer why we're giving.
Well, we're playing.
But what I was going to point out before we forget is they're laughing at us because apparently that money, that 10 million or a good chunk of that 10 million is being funneled to ISIS. Is being funneled to Al Qaeda. And these groups are laughing. We're funding groups that are going to try to kill us.
You look at the Taliban and you look at history and how far back it goes. And you can look at Britain when they tried to take on in Afghanistan. They lost. They went out with their tail between their legs. Russia went in there and went out with their tail between their legs. Well, I pretty well think that we've gone out with our tail between. These terrorists have been around for hundreds, thousands of years, and you shouldn't give them money. They're going to do what they do, whether we give them money or not. It is stupid. What do we think we're going to gain from giving them money?
I have no idea.
They don't care.
And I would challenge the most experienced, well-seasoned CIA, operative to explain to me the logic behind giving the Taliban payments. I mean, what government official can back up that kind of an action, giving $10 billion to our enemy?
Look, they can live in holes and eat dirt. And because that's what they do. You give them money, they're going to take it and shove it down our throat and still live in the hole and eat dirt. So why give them the money to shove down our throat? Let's let them eat dirt and live in the hole. That's what they want. That's what they've done for thousands of years. Okay, fine. You go live in that hole.
Getting back to what we were saying, though, about how little we're being told. We're not being told. We weren't being told the truth about the shooting attempt on Trump. Nothing. We were left in the dark, and they promised to get us information, and they never have and never will. All right, that was our Secret Service. We are being told that not to worry about the drones over New Jersey. There are hundreds of drones flying around in synchronized patterns over New Jersey and Pennsylvania and parts of New York. Don't worry about it. No big deal. Nothing to see here, but we don't know where they came from. We have no idea where this is what we're being told. We don't know where they came from, but don't worry about it. Not a big deal. Well, if you don't know where they came from, how can you tell people not to worry about it? It would be like the FBI saying about 20 minutes after an attack, well, that wasn't a terrorist attack. No way in hell they would have that answer that quickly. But they jump out and they tell you that almost like a reflex action. You know?
The drone flying thing, I'm wondering if there's not a coordinated effort there that's, they're just practicing and, getting us used to it. And then all of a sudden, look, it started. Something has started. We even said that last year. The new year is going to ring in, a lot of grief and what's going on. And we started the new year with, hey, Bill, a hit on.
You and I talked about this 2 years ago. We have got food processing plants that are being destroyed all over our country. I mean, big ones. We have poultry farms, not little chicken farms. I'm talking about these massive suppliers, Tyson Foods, big processing plants that are all of a sudden mysteriously going up in smoke, and nobody's saying a damn thing about them. If you make our food supply weakened, if you weaken our food supply and you start nibbling at our security, we become a lesser society, a less safe society too. I mean, and these people are doing it. It's almost like we're frogs being boiled in warm water. They take a frog, and if you put it in the water and you turn the flame up really slowly, it doesn't know that it's going to boil to death. And I almost feel like as a society, that's what's happening to us right now. We're just not aware of how dangerous everything is right now. I would be very concerned. I heard somebody, Bill, say on Friday, and I happen to agree with them. I hope Trump is sworn in inside the rotunda in the Capitol, out of the line of sight of the people. Maybe put a TV camera in there and show it. But for him to step up on the podium, there's no way you can protect him from a sniper. I mean, any number of places can see that person. And by the way, you know that their suicide. They talked about it with this attack here. That these people were suicide bombers and attackers. They're willing to die. So you get a sniper up there who wants to take out Trump, and he knows, hey, as soon as I pull this trigger, I'm probably going to get shot, but I'm doing it for, whatever cause they're doing it for.
Right.
I mean, I don't think that our government is working totally for our benefit right now. I'm talking about the intelligence groups. If they were working for us, they would tell Bill Knight and Jim Harrington what exactly was going on in Las Vegas. They would tell us what happened to President Trump. They would tell us what happened on 9/11 in its entirety. They would tell us about the chicken farms and why they're being set on fire. They would tell us about all this stuff, but they're telling us nothing. Nothing. All they hope is that you forget about it over time, because historically we do.
Yeah, all we want to do, as soon as we have some information, we'll get back to you. And that's good enough for us. But we need to hold them accountable. If they say, we'll get back to you, give them a couple of days. Hey, you said you were going to get back to us. Do you have any information yet? No, we're still working on it. Then ask them again a week later. Yeah, we're still working on it. Well, how the hell long does it take you to work on it?
Well,
a day, a week, a year? Give me a deadline here. What do you know to now?
That shooting down in that, it was a shooting and a car attack. I mean, it was this guy. If you saw the video, by the way, he was selling real estate not too long ago. This attacker in
Shamsud.
Yeah, Shamsuddin Jabbar. He was selling real estate. He was born in the U.S. He sounded articulate, and when he was selling real estate on the videotape, his hair was cut nicely. He was wearing a suit and tie. He had a bachelor's degree from, I think, Georgia Tech or one of those schools. He presented himself well, and he was very much an American. But if you look at one of the recent pictures of him, he let his beard go out. He looked like a radical. He didn't look like one of us. And I also read where he'd gone over to London, and he was doing something. They don't know what was that. Was he radicalized in a mosque in London or something? I mean, we don't know much about this guy.
Well, I wonder if he was radicalized when he was stationed at the same place as the other guy. And then I sit there and go, okay, so he had a nice job. He was a real estate guy.
Mm-hmm.
But then I'm going, okay, who was his clientele? Maybe he was working back then, helping set up people.
You have no idea. We have no idea. He could have been moving people in and out of apartments and condos.
Here's something that's interesting now that I did hear. Where he lived, all right, and in that neighborhood, there's a row of places that are for rent, all right? And one of the ladies that has lived there since 2005 said, oh, well, the people that go here, they're not here long. They're not here for a year or anything like that. They come and they go quickly. What does that tell you?
It's a safe house. It's a place that's being used to transition people.
You're damn right. And so I'm sitting there going, I hate to say it, but if somebody bought a house from this guy, it needs to be looked at. You don't have to go and shake the walls, but if there's something that stinks, you better check it out, because in that neighborhood, they were shuffling people in and out of there, and that's the history, and that's what the lady said. It just, you didn't get to know these people or anything. You'd see them come, you'd see them go real quick.
They showed a picture of a SWAT team at this guy's house. I believe it was in Houston. That's where he was living, and it took them forever to enter the house. They kept going back to a picture. When they first started showing the SWAT team in front of his house, they were out by an armored vehicle, and they were all standing around the vehicle, and they weren't making an entrance to the house, and it was daylight. And they kept going back to the scene for the next few hours, and they were still outside of the house by the vehicle when it became nighttime. And I was thinking, well, there must be something in that house that they're afraid of activating, so they're not going to make entrance. Either it's been booby-trapped, or there's something in that house that is too dangerous for them to make an entrance.
I would have put a robot in there, but even then, that probably wouldn't get everything. What is it that they use at Area 51? You probably send a robot through. That's one thing.
They could have a little drone. They have little handheld drones that could actually fly in. But, is it safe to open the door?
Well, like ammonia sniffers out there that they use in Area 51, or, something that it detects a human person.
Yeah. Well, they probably had it, but they weren't using it, at least for the hours.
No, I mean, that house could be rigged with something that detects
a human coming in. Yeah.
A human coming in, and only a human. So if
there could have been a weight sensor on the floor when somebody steps on the floor and it moves a board. Boom. There's any number of things that.
If they would have said, "Hey, you go in there," I would have said, "No, my name's not Mikey," like in the Life commercial. I don't do anything you tell me to do. I would have said no, because that house, I would have been sitting there going, "There's not a bomb suit that could protect you from whatever massive thing could be in there.
Yeah, and they weren't going in. So I don't even know whether they've been in as of this show. I mean, they still may be standing outside trying to figure out what to do. But this guy wasn't a good guy. This guy, even though he had a good appearance, and by the way, the guy in front of Trump Tower, he hurt 7 people. He died. He was the only death there, but he hurt 7 people. His intent was to kill somebody. Those 7 people, even though they're alive, you have to think, hey, he would have been fine if they had all been killed. So this was not a good guy either. These were bad guys. Don't tell me about their service. Please don't tell me about, he was a Green Beret. Horse crap. He was a son of a bee who was going to kill people. And I don't care where the guy was from. He did a terrorist attack on us, on innocent, good people minding their own business on a holiday. Yeah. I mean, this guy who killed these people, I heard somebody describe, an eyewitness describe, he was walking down Bourbon Street, and he saw all these happy people. He saw a little girl playing in the street. I mean, 3 o'clock in the morning, but when a little girl, he may have meant like 15 or 16, and she was happy and dancing. It was celebration. It was the new year, and then the attack took place, and finally he had the courage to walk back up the street, and all these people were dead in the street. All these people were dead. That little girl was dead in the street, crushed by this guy's evil. By the way, if you ever wonder whether there is a devil, there is evil, you got to look at attacks like this.
Yeah, I think that just dotted the I's and crossed the T's of that. There is evil out there. So if you go, there is no beginning, there is no end.
Oh, horse crap.
Yeah, well, you know what? Good luck with that one, all right?
Yeah. John Kennedy was speaking with Fox News, I believe, or News Nation. Maybe it was Newsmax. It was Newsmax. He was being questioned about the attack. John Kennedy, senator from Louisiana, he was down there at the press conference dressed in his old clothes. Hey, they didn't have a chance to get all suited up. They were down there quickly, and that's his people. Those are the people that voted him into office, right. And he belonged being there. But here's what he said in the interview, and he said some of this stuff during the press conference, too.
Just a final question here for not just people in Louisiana that are watching, but people coast to coast that are watching tonight. Are you getting the sense that there's any threat of any other potential attacks tonight on any other major cities?
I can't answer that. I can, but I won't.
Is New Orleans safe tonight?
Yes, but we're still in the process of tightening up security. We're still in the process of doing everything that we possibly can. The governor's called out the National Guard. We've got more FBI coming. We've got Homeland Security people. We've got state troopers who've done an awesome job. We've got the NOPD. We're doing everything we can, but like I say, there's a lot of information out there. Some of it's accurate.
Okay.
His non-answer was an answer. When he said, is there more attacks coming? He said, I can't answer that. I know, but I can't answer that. That was an answer. And, of course, we've had some.
Yeah, that's an answer. Yes, there is. But in my mind.
Yeah, I think that we are going to see more, unfortunately, as the week progresses. My question is how, and this is all leading up to Trump's inauguration, there's going to be turmoil. There is going to be, I think there's going to be a problem on January 6th, which is, by the way, a mere, 4 days away? Mm-hmm. Next week? January 6th is when they certify the presidency. And I wouldn't be surprised if there's another, attack on the Capitol. I mean, well, the good thing is they've done something this time around that they should have done 5 years ago. They put up riot fencing all around the perimeter of the Capitol.
Do you hear what else, because kind of related, there was a thing that said, well, with the Democrats voting, the Republicans voting, Johnson may not get certified Speaker of the House.
Yeah.
He introduced a bill that said, nope, you know what? Only Republicans can vote for the Republican Speaker of the House, which means, vice versa. That would be the same way if it were the Democrats. So the other party can't derail the party that
Who
is
introduced that bill? I didn't see
Johnson.
that.
Johnson.
I don't know whether they can change the rules this close to the certain. That's a good. I mean, it's interesting. I have to look for that. But how they're all members of the House. Every
Right.
Democrat or Republican, they're all individual members of the House. The Speaker is the Speaker of the House, not the Speaker of the Republicans. So,
Right.
so I don't know how he could change the rules halfway through the game.
Well, it's been introduced. It's out there. So he's tried to do it, but apparently,
I know that he's been endorsed by Trump, which says to me that Trump doesn't need the distractions right now. He's got enough on his plate. Let's get this out of the way. The certification should be almost fait accompli. Just certify him. But this is going to be difficult. They're going to, who has to be the ultimate certifier of President Trump? It's Kamala. The vice president is the one who has to be the one who ultimately puts their signature on it.
And what if she doesn't?
Well, if she just, I don't believe she can arbitrarily not. I think if they all vote to make him the president, if they certify the vote, then I think that it's almost a formality on her part. She has got to certify it. But, hey, nowadays, nothing is rock solid anymore.
There are rules that you didn't know were rules. All of a sudden, the Democrats seem to know every stinking rule there is. But
you know what else?
I do know.
I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
Do you realize that, there was this guy, Jabbar, was staying at a bed and breakfast in New Orleans?
Yeah, it caught on fire, blew up or something.
Isn't that an interesting coincidence? That the bed and breakfast he was staying in just happened to catch fire the night that he committed a mass homicide?
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
I wouldn't want to be the owner of an Airbnb right now because you don't know who is, and you can't really discriminate. But, it could be somebody that was going, screw these people. I'm just here to mayhem anyway, and I'll blow up the place for any evidence. Down in Houston, the mosque or whatever it is that the Shemad attended, they told their congregation, FBI comes in, you tell them nothing, and that's kind of weird too.
You mean Shamsud Din Jabbar?
Yeah.
Unbelievable. Well, folks, we are living on the precipice of uncharted territory. We've never been here before as a country. We've been to a lot of places. We've all lived through, not all of us, but a lot of us have lived through 9/11. We've seen that terror attack on our country, and we actually came out the other side stronger. But it was temporary because the politicians over time were able to separate us again, make us divided as a people. Do you remember right after 9/11, there were no Democrats or Republicans. We were all Americans. We stood side by side after 9/11. This time around, I don't think they want that. I think they want us to be going at each other's throats. And it's like that now. After this last election, I was reading about, families that have filed for divorce from each other.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, this is nonsense. For God's sakes, grow up. For Pete's sakes, you may have a difference of political opinion, but if you married somebody, you love that person, supposedly, don't screw around with your personal life. Don't intermingle the things.
How many people have lost friends that were business colleagues? You have a difference of opinion.
Oh, yeah. I'm sure it's happened to us.
Oh, I'm sure it has. Now, I'm not in the game for media play anymore, but there are certain gigs out there that I might do voiceover independently. But if somebody goes, well, you do that podcast, don't you? Yeah, I do. I don't believe anything you say. Yeah, well, that voice part you were up for and you're perfect for, you suck.
Hey, there are Hollywood actors who are conservative who were vocal about it, have lost parts.
Yeah.
John Voight, a big conservative. I'm sure he's lost parts, but the thing is, he's successful enough where he doesn't give a darn. You know, he's got his millions and he's got his Academy Award and his success. So stick it, you know. But there are other guys out there who had to hide their political, preferences for fear of losing jobs all the time.
Mm-hmm.
They couldn't talk about politics on the set. Go ahead, Bill.
Yeah, I was going to say, anymore though, if let's say somebody goes, I got $1 million in the bank, I'm good, I can do whatever I want. Actually, $1 million today ain't squat because, the dynamics have changed abruptly to where it takes a lot of money and ongoing. So anybody that thinks you're set, think again.
Nowadays, as long you think I'm set. I have all this money in the bank. The bank is all digital.
Yeah, that's right.
And if you get a sinister government in place and they don't like you, can't they just erase a few of those zeros? I mean, couldn't they eliminate your balance? I'm just saying. They talk about cybercoin and all these other Bitcoin and things like that, and people are saying, well, they're digital. I don't know much about Bitcoin or you know more than I do, Bill, but I do know that when we think we're safe with our own money in the bank, when you bring your money to the bank or you transfer it to a bank, it's digital. Essentially, you go in and try. If let's say hypothetically you have a balance of $100,000, just walk in the front door of your bank and say, "I would like my $100,000 now, please." Most of them will say, "Well, we can't get it to you now. You have to make an appointment. We have to get the money together, and it'll take some time, and we have to make sure you have it in your account, and we have to verify it." And if you deposit more than $10,000 in your account, they notify the federal government.
Yeah, I would say that we live in a society of perceived wealth and value.
Yeah.
In other words, we were backed by gold, and we have gold, but we don't have the gold to equal the trillions of dollars of debt, or actually there's more perceived wealth when it's all accumulated in the world that exceeds the debt. So I'm sitting there going, and a bank goes, if you had $100 million, so I want it all out in cash. It's going to take them a while to round up that printed money to get it to you, which, like you said, it's all digital. We have been basically digital for years because we were off the gold standard. Now we're getting gold again. Trump wants to maybe do the gold standard, but I think he even realizes we are so digital now. It is perception is reality.
One of the things I find
that's
amazing,
where Bitcoin comes in.
They're doing this advertising on TV for, and you probably have seen this. Do you really own your house, or has your house been stolen out from underneath you? There are guys who can go in and steal your deed. They can steal your title on your house.
Yeah, because it's all digitized. So if you don't have deed lock, which means, you can get that, but then somebody's going to find a way to navigate around it.
Well, I went online. You don't have to buy one of these private companies to find out. All you have to go is to your county recorder of deeds site. You just go to your county, whatever county you live in, recorder of deeds, and they'll take you to a web page, and then usually they'll tell you how to find out about the status of your deed on your house. And some counties actually will offer free of charge a warning system. They will keep an eye on your account to make sure that nobody's trying to mess with your stuff. Okay, I'm simplifying it.
Here's a question: somebody works for the county where the recorder of deeds are, and they have nefarious intent. Could they sit there and be at work there to make sure you don't find out that somebody is stealing their?
It's a separate organization there's a separate.
Okay.
It's a separate system.
Yeah.
If it was a system that was being run by the county directly, there could be somebody messing around, but it's off-site. The way they do it is, and I guess they must have had that question come up, and somebody said, we can't have somebody in this office, responsible for that because they could be corrupted, and you would never know. But I just thought it was amazing. I thought in this day, right, in this day where everything is computerized, you would think that stealing your title, your deed on your property, would be the hardest thing in the world to do, because you would think that everything's digitized, and you would, when someone started to mess around with something that like a deed, something official like that, there would be a bunch of flags that would come up. But apparently that's not the case. I was really surprised.
Yeah, I mean, you could have one paid off and have a paper deed, but apparently it could still be stolen because paper deed doesn't mean squat. And when you look at real estate, you buy a piece of property, you own it for your lifetime, you can pass it down to your kids, but at some point in time, that piece of property that you own and pass down basically expires.
Well, I mean, you look at what's going on in the world, you wonder, what the heck do we really own anyway? Do we own the money in the bank that we've saved our lifetime for?
No.
Or is that just something that pacifies us as we go through life? Hey, folks, I would suggest over the next few weeks that you keep your head on a swivel wherever you are. If you are traveling in airports, I'm not telling you to be traveling in fear, but I would suggest that you pay attention to everything, because anything can happen. You heard Sarah Adams talking about the fact that they've devised means of putting together suicide vests that can't be detected by metal detectors. I mean, that should frighten you by itself. You can walk through a metal detector and it won't see it, won't smell it. You walk in, you get into an airplane, then what? These people, that bomber that you were talking about, the shoe bomber, he was perfectly willing to kill himself in that airplane and everybody on it.
Because whatever they believe that they will pass forward and be accepted. And you almost got to get in these people's heads and find out what makes them tick and what do they fear, because what they're doing is they're employing fear on us. Like you're saying, hey, you know what, just keep your head on a swivel. But yes, but we can't let them, what they do, stop us. We have to not be afraid of what they do. There's a risk staying at home. There's a risk going out. We've got to live our lives, and we can't let them change anything about how we live our lives. But on the same behalf, what gets under their skin? I'd like to know that.
This guy that we have in the White House right now, he spent, a week, 10 days in the Virgin Islands on vacation. And of course, after that happened, that was very tiring. He immediately went up to Delaware to his vacation home and spend some time there. And then, of course, that was tiring for him. So he proceeded to leave Delaware and fly to Camp David for some more vacation time. I mean, this is the guy who's supposed to be taking care of our country.
Yeah, what was the complaint about Trump? He did too many vacations.
Oh, gag me.
He worked more than this guy has ever worked in his entire life.
Listen to what he said. He was getting on the airplane. It starts off, you can hear the press screaming at him. He was getting ready to get on the airplane, and he walks over to the press, and, well, it's pretty self-explanatory. Listen.
Any more information you can offer?
You've all got my statement. I'll have more to say in the next hour or so following what's going on in New Orleans. I'll be happy to do that.
Do you understand that the person crossed the border?
I'm not going to comment on any specific at all. I've contacted every agency in the federal government as well as the state. They're all coordinating to get to the bare facts. We know what the facts are.
Can you say if you're a foreigner or if he was a domestic?
I'm not going to say anything until I get all the facts in front of me.
Has the suspect been identified?
Again, I'm not going to comment until I speak to the group later. I've spoken to every member of the agency, from the CIA to our national security team, to our FBI, NSC, and we're gathering all the, and I spent a lot of time with the government, with the
What was
mayor.
your reaction when you heard what happened?
Well, the reaction was one of anger and frustration. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
And then he walks away, right? Thank you. And he walks away.
Yeah.
He mentions he talked to all the agencies in our government. What the hell is he talking
BS.
about? What the hell?
BS.
He says he's not going to tell everything. I'll get back to you in an hour, which he never did, right?
No, that was it was late last night that he did it. And you know what? He didn't. Oh, yeah. He said, yeah, it's identified it as and that, blah, blah, blah. But I don't think he has a clue in reality.
Yeah, I think they're actually hiding him. They probably have said to him, look at Joe, you're diminished. You're going to spend the remainder of your presidency at your vacation properties. He's going, I think he's heading off to Rome to meet with the Pope this week. Now, I'm curious, will he pay respects to the people who were killed in this tragedy in New Orleans? Will he go to any of the funerals, or will he? I mean, Trump probably would have, but I don't think this guy is going to. This guy we have in office now will. He's not a nice guy, folks. You know, people who know him will tell you that when he was competent, when he was clear thinking, he wasn't a nice guy. So
what do we got? Hope, and a dope, huh? I mean, we're in trouble.
Yeah. Yes, hope, and a dope. I don't know. We are in a very dangerous time. We have heard of an attack in New Orleans, and we've heard about a car explosion in Vegas, all within hours of each other. We've heard about a nightclub shooting in Queens. They'll probably say it wasn't connected. Maybe it wasn't. Let's hope, but it's still a terrorist attack. I love how they say, "Well, it's not a confirmed terrorist attack." Wait a second. 11 people, 15 people were killed. Is that enough? Isn't that terrorist enough? They are
one American citizen killed by any kind of heinous act.
Yeah,
is enough, and is called for. Let's get to the bottom of it, and let's answer them.
Well, we have. I would. Makes you want to just stay home, doesn't it? Makes you want to just stay close to home.
That's what they want. That's what they want. But you know what? You can't get sympathetic to them for what they did, and there will be innocent people that get hurt if we retaliate. And to them, I would say right now, you know what? Give up the bastards and get the hell out of the way, because it's somewhere along the line, American patriotism will kick in, and we're going to go kick. I hope we're going to go kick some butt.
Yeah. I hope that we are a strong enough nation. I heard somebody say, a mayor of a town in Texas, some small border town in Texas, who is actually not in favor of removing the illegals. He happens to think, this mayor in this border town, that we need these illegals because they do jobs. He said, and I'm paraphrasing, he said the American work ethic has changed, and these people do jobs that we wouldn't do. I think that's crap. When you're unemployed, you'll do a lot, But
you lower your standards real quick that you've had so high and mighty. And we talked about that in the last podcast, that, now there are people out there that sit there go, I'm too good for this. Well, you're too good for it until you need it, and that's all there is to it.
The other thing is this, Bill. A lot of these companies will pay these migrants below the minimum wage.
Well, that's the other thing.
Yeah, enough of this crap. All right? You pay a decent minimum wage, a decent wage for these people, you'll get good American laborers.
Well, you're talking about the pickers, the people that go out and pick the apricots, the oranges, the grapes, and I don't know what it's up to now, but I know when I was a kid growing up, it was like 8 cents a tray. Well, okay, how many trays can you pick in an hour? How much money could you really make? You couldn't, if you made $1 an hour, I guess you were doing good.
Nowadays they have vehicles that they drive down the orchards and they shake the trees and they get the stuff that way. They don't even have people picking the stuff anymore. in a lot of these big farms.
So what are they using these migrant workers for?
Oh,
Cheap labor?
Yeah.
Cheap labor?
They'll
Well,
hire them in factories to work jobs that Americans used to work, but they'll pay them less money.
Yeah, well, now there's a lot of states have done the California thing and raised the minimum wage to what, 16.65 an hour. I don't know which states did it, so might be yours, might not be, but I would venture to say California, which has got a lot of illegal immigrants. I'd like to ask Mr. What's his name, Newsom?
Yeah,
I'd like to ask him if all those immigrant illegals that are picking whatever or doing whatever the jobs are, if they're making that 16 something an hour.
You know what I'm afraid of? We're also going to see as Trump gets into office, we're going to see if he starts to go after these terrorists. I'll be curious to see whether the legal system, the liberal legal system, jumps to their defense, to their protection.
It will, and that's a problem that we have.
That has to end. That has to end, folks. I don't know how it ends, by the way. I don't know how we can fix that problem, but you watch. They're going to have people jumping to the aid of these mean, evil so-and-sos, right? And, it complicates the situation. I mean, when we start to round up these terrorists and take them to the border, right, will there be stays that are executed in courtrooms by the left, trying to stop us from sending these illegals back to their own home countries? Mind you, from the moment they entered this country, it should be understood that you're a criminal. You don't grow out of being a criminal by not being caught. Do you know what I'm saying? I mean, if you came into this country 3 years ago illegally, it doesn't mean, well, I've been here 3 years now, I'm no longer a criminal because I've been here 3 years. You don't heal from being a criminal. You're a criminal now just like you were 3 years ago. And if you're here illegally and we would have deported you 3 years ago and we didn't do it, we should do it now. No questions asked. But
a lot of people, they come here illegally, and then if we make them legal, we probably didn't import all their bad deeds or their evil doings, the records of. So,
I think there are a lot of those, Bill. A lot of we don't know who they are. That's the problem they don't talk about. They talk about, well, we want to get rid of the bad guys first. How the heck do you know who are the bad guys if you don't have their records? If they weren't vetted?
That's the problem, vetting them. If we can't vet them,
back you go.
Back you go. And you know what? There's a vetting process and time. And then there's not only the vetting of them, but when you come here, we get back to what we talked about at the beginning of the show, is that these people don't want to assimilate into, this coat of many colors, the fabric. You don't want to, you want to be your own, separate piece of cloth to this coat.
There's a little lady, God bless her, from New Jersey, right? Who was born back, I don't know, in the, I guess she was born in the early 70s. And she fell into hard times. She lost her house. But when she was in high school, she had a all-American smile with beautifully coiffed hair, was an attractive little girl who had all these dreams. You could see it in her eyes, right?
Right.
And all of a sudden, in recent times, she's down on her luck. She decides to catch some sleep in a subway train in New York, minding her own business. And one of Joe Biden's illegals from Guatemala, for no good reason, he said he was drunk at the time. That's no excuse. He had no good reason. She wasn't hurting him or intruding on his space or doing anything to this. She was asleep in the corner of a subway train. He walked up, he took out his cigarette lighter, and he lit her on fire. And
he doused her too.
And it took, it took days for them to be able to identify her. She was so charred, this beautiful little woman who had been down on her luck and was living on the streets, who had at one time been everybody. She looked like every father's daughter. Okay.
All right. Let
And
me ask you a question.
And now they're trying to figure out a way to keep this Guatemalan from going to jail. We have lawyers working hard to keep this bastard, pardon my French, from going to jail. What was the question, Bill?
Well, my question was on her behalf. A person that fell into hard luck. But, if, she's tried, she's done, anybody can fall in hard luck. Even a millionaire or billionaire, at some point in time could have something happen to where it's all gone and you're on the street. But why are we giving so much money to the Ukraine, which we haven't talked about?
Yeah.
Or to Afghan, to, different rebel groups, when that money could go to help our impoverished?
Hey, that guy who lit her on fire was probably living in free housing, being paid for by your money. He probably he probably was being fed 3 meals a day and lived on a cot that we paid for.
These attorneys that are trying to help him out are pro bono, should put their names up on a public billboard for all the world to see and say, if you need an attorney, don't hire these guys.
Well, the only thing is, I think you'd like to do that, but I don't know whether they have a choice when they're made to be a public defender. I don't know whether.
Okay, if they're a public defender.
Maybe you can. I don't know.
Okay, yeah, the pro bono thing, and they have to do that. I forget what they call it, that they have to accept these cases. One of the things an attorney has to do is you can't take a case. You can take a case, but you can't sit there and go for, well, this guy doesn't deserve to be given this. If you know he's guilty, you believe he's guilty, and they know he's guilty. I'm sure they believe he's guilty.
Yeah.
So how can you in sound mind and body and good heart, go forward and fight for this guy?
Yeah, good question. So here's something to think about between now and tomorrow's program, folks. Will we ever get told the truth about the drones?
No.
Will we ever find anything more about this Luigi Mangione from Baltimore who shot a CEO in the back for no good reason?
That would be a no.
Okay. Are we going to learn about more about President Trump's assassination attempt?
No.
Okay. How about those food processing plants that have gone up in smoke?
That's a hard no.
Will we ever learn anything more about what happened in Maui and why that city spontaneously combusted?
Absolutely not.
Okay. Those are the ones that I'm thinking off the top of my head. Will we ever find out what happened to all that ammonium nitrate that they lost?
Are you kidding?
60,
no.
Was it 60 tons?
65 tons.
Of ammonium nitrate they lost. Will we ever find out anything more about what happened in East Palestine, Ohio?
No.
Okay. Well, that's depressing now that I think about it. It really and truly is. I mean,
yep.
Give you an idea of the times we live in, folks. There was a time in this country where we could send people up into space. We brought them back without a problem. There's a couple up there in space that we sent up 8 months ago.
They're stuck up there a longer time.
But what was interesting? They found, I don't know how they had this up in the space station. There's a picture of them. They're all wearing Santa Claus stocking caps, and they have decorations inside the space station. And I'm thinking, everything.
Maybe it came up on a supply ship. I don't know.
I don't know either. But why can't they go back on a supply ship? Why can't these people give them? I mean, I don't know. It's beyond me, folks.
Well, they said it wasn't safe, but the supply ship made it back. A couple of them. So
I know. Does it make sense to you? Because it sure as hell doesn't make any sense to me.
No.
All right, folks. Say a prayer. I hope to God. Today, by the way, they postponed the Sugar Bowl, which was supposed to be last night. They postponed it till this afternoon. 4 o'clock, I believe, is game time. It's at the Superdome. And you got to pray that everything's okay. That's in New Orleans, folks.
You don't want to deprive the kids of the game, but maybe we deprive, and I hate to say it, but, maybe they just say, the game's going to happen without an audience.
Well, that could I thought about that, Bill. That would have been, I think, a smart move. They could have done it without an audience. You play the game, and you find out who the champion is and move on. But no, it goes down to money, television rights, and vending rights, and all these things that the people are paying thousands, millions of dollars for. And I just hope to God there isn't. I can't help but think there was a movie back in the mid '70s. What was it called? Black Sunday. Starred Robert Shaw. And if you remember, it was a terrorist attack on the Super Bowl. At the time, the Super Bowl was being played outside, and the terrorist attack was going to take place on a blimp. You might remember seeing the visuals of the blimp coming into the stadium, and it literally stops just feet from the playing field. And that was the thing. And I kept thinking, boy, today it wouldn't be a blimp; it would be drones. And they don't need to have the dome open, by the way, to cause all kind of problems. You could attack the dome. You could set explosives on that to where it caves in on everybody. You just pray to. This is the kind of. I know that they've probably gone over that building with a fine-tooth comb, but I just don't trust it. I wouldn't want my kids to be there today. I wonder if the game is going to be affected attendance-wise because of what happened. Would you want to go to the Sugar Bowl? Would you trust it? Well, here's the problem. How much did they pay for the tickets? Oh, I think they probably paid a decent buck. Yeah. Yeah, and you're probably not going to be able to. I mean, there'd be somebody that would buy them, but I think it's Georgia and Notre Dame, two big teams. Yeah. So, yeah, look, the people that attack. They don't care who, when, or where. But again, they're not going to tell you who, when, or where. So it could be the safest place to be today or one of the most dangerous places to be. And that's how they operate. And that's what they want you to know. Maybe, maybe not. Folks, it's a roll of the dice. One of these days, it's going to be an attack on something that's very, very visible to us all. Like a TV program or a game or something. We're going to be watching it because that's just the nature of the world we live in. Everything is visual nowadays. I mean, look at all the attacks, and every time you hear about something going off, like an attack in Germany or something, you go on the webpage and you'll see that people have their cell phones out, and there's video from a number of different angles. You see it from all over the place. You're afraid of what might be seen in the public's eye because they want you to see that. But I would be afraid of what might come that you don't see. All right. And I'm not trying to give any ideas to anybody, but, let's just say what you don't see. Let's say that those terrorist groups go, okay, they're looking for something that's a high visual thing. So let's go to Clovis, California. Let's go to Santa Fe, New Mexico. Let's go to Boise, Idaho, and let's pick 10 cities across the U.S. and go in and just simultaneously blow up some family's home with them in it. That sounds like a bad movie. it is a bad movie, but you know what? That's where we could be headed because they could just say, okay, you've seen us do these things in bold, right in front of you. Now we're going to sneak around behind you, and you're not safe anyway. Well, it kind of happened this past weekend because I think everybody was looking to New York to see Times Square, right? I mean, everybody, in the back of everybody's mind, they kept saying, oh, is something going to happen right here with all these people right in front of our eyes? And the bad guys, they figured, oh, no, there's too much police protection. They've taken too many precautions. That's too dangerous for us. We'll go to New Orleans and do something bad. We'll go to Vegas and set off a bomb, like you said. Nightclubs, grocery stores, places of high venue places, that they will go to. But what's to stop them when their goal is to make you fear, live in fear? They want us living in fear
no matter what. So I would say the next way to do this wave is either mass contamination of food and water, or hitting you right in your own home front, right where you sleep.
And I just don't think that our government is protecting us as strongly as we think they are.
They don't know how to handle that because
they better get off their rear ends and start figuring out a way, because that's what they're being paid for. Take some of that friggin' money you're throwing away over in these foreign countries, bring it back to the U.S. and start paying to have research done on how to fix these things and protect us. These bloody politicians who they're greedy SOBs, and you're seeing it right now with this speakership situation. Guys like Massey holding up the vote. I'm not sure whether I'm going to vote. Get off your fanny. Nobody voted for you, Massey, nationally. We voted for Trump and his agenda. So get out of the way and vote the guy in, and let's move on from there. We could go on and on. Hey, Bill, a reminder, folks. It's called rightsideshop.com. Rightsideshop.com. It's where you'll find Jim and Bill's Right Side Coffee, a delicious medium blend roast, and it's also a decaf roast, too. A great coffee, and also you'll find, as Bill would say, other swag. I call it
swag,
swag. I call it swag, but he calls it swag, which has a certain je ne sais quoi to it.
Yeah, that's why I say it that way. Swag, it's swag, but what the heck?
And if you're wondering what that swag is, it's cups, it's hats, it's what's it? Daddy's Home,
Daddy's Home,
Daddy's Home T-shirts and sweatshirts. You got to check it out. Rightsideshop.com. And oh, by the way, we also have Juan Jose and the Border Crossers, our in-house band. Here to sing the jingle. They only do one song, but they do it so very well. Guys, if you would.
Wake up on the right side with Right Side Coffee.
Marvelous. Right Side Coffee. My friend, I think we've done it. And also in this new year, this is our first show in the new year, we've broken a record. We've gone over an hour and 30 minutes, 1 hour and 31 minutes so far, and counting even as we speak. So it's the longest show of our little history, and it's all your fault.
Oh, sure, blame it on me.
Yeah. Anyway,
well.
you want to sign us out, my friend? In your
after I get blamed for making it the longest show, and I had my mic off the entire time. I don't know who that was talking in my place.
He sounded a lot like you, I'll tell you that.
Well, if I ever get sick, he can step in for me. Until then, we'll just go hasta la vista, baby. We're out of here.
This is CRN America.